I don't want to talk about anything. I'm just, showing various books. That's what's happening today. Hello. So first and foremost, I am a mood reader. I am a big mood reader. I have a whole video about it, which means that TBRs do not work for me. The reason why I'm doing a TBR now is because I am back on the NetGalley game. NetGalley, for people who don't know, is a website where you can request advanced reader copies, so copies of books that have not come out yet. You can request them to read them digitally or in audiobook format, and then review them. That's very important. If you just read them and never review them, a lot of the time you will not be approved for some specific titles that you might want. And that's really motivating for me. On top of that, I do have a book club, that's Short Classics book club, where we read a classic novel or novella, maybe it's more accurate, that's around 200 pages. And it's once a month, and I always read that book, first of all because it's short, second of all because I am hosting the book club, so that's kind of like I have to. This month we're reading Silas Marner, I still don't know how to pronounce it, by George Eliot, which is the story of the relationship between an old miser that's been rejected by his original community that it's basically the story of Up, but in the 1800s. The main reason why I wanted to read it is because it does sound kind of like a very well-known story nowadays, the old man and the young child, and that was one of the earliest depictions of this type of dynamic, and I'm really interested in seeing what she does with that. The NetGalley's books have been approved for, that I will be reading in ebook form, are The Witchwood Knot by Olivia Atwood, which is a fantasy fairy folk story set in Victorian England about a governess that has had her young master kidnapped by the fairies, and now because that's her whole job, she needs to go and find him in this very spooky fairy-like wood. And that hits a bunch of my niches. Historical novel set in Victorian England, a governess, love me a governess, and fairy folk in a dark forest. All of those I love. I really hope it delivers, because a lot of the time, like for a lot of books, I love the premises, but then the executions leaves me a bit unsatisfied. So I am really hoping that this is as gothic and spooky, but also funny as it appears to be. I'll let you know when I actually read it. Then the next book is Dengue by
Michel.
Nieva. He's an Argentinian author, and it's translated by Rahul, Bery. I think that's how you pronounce their names, but I have an accent, but not the right one. Dengue is a speculative fiction novella, maybe, because I believe it's quite short. I tend to always request books that are on the shorter side, because then even if I hate them, since I want to actually finish them, I don't want to DNF them, even if I'm not liking them. If they're short, I know I will finish them. So Dengue Boy, it's a speculative fiction novel set in the year, I think, 2197, and it deals with an ultra-capitalistic society, and our protagonist is shown living in this ultra-capitalistic society where the issues of the present day are exacerbated and even more extreme than they are now. And I think there's going to be an exploration on technology and what type of technology was implemented to keep capitalism going for that long, because it shouldn't, as it is, it should crumble in hopefully the next 50 years, but through, I'm guessing, the means of technology, it shows how the ultra rich has stayed the ultra rich and the ultra poor has stayed the ultra poor. And it also talks about climate change. It talks about how in the future we will see the present day. I really like this type of novels. I really like speculative fiction when it's an actual reflection of major issues that we're having in the present. I've read some speculative fiction that is just thought experiments of, what would happen if this was the case, but if this was the case of whatever, but then the actual text doesn't really deliver on how that's important, on why that's a cool thought experiment to have. They kind of just write a what if fanfiction that has no strings attached, which, fair enough, sometimes that's cool, but I always prefer when speculative fiction is actually satire or a comment or an analysis of something of the present. And I do believe that this is that type of book. I've heard of it on Book Talk, I think, just in passing, but I remember thinking, I need to check this out. So when I saw it on NetGalley, I immediately requested it, and I'm so happy that I've kept up my percentage of, because NetGalley gives you a percentage based on the number of book you request to the number of reviews you do, and I am at the 80% mark, which is what they suggest, and I am constantly updating it so I can get more books when I request them. Yes, I am a nerd, but we knew that. Last book that I've requested and been accepted for is The Scandalous Spinster by Alyxandra Harvey. This is a historical romance novel, think Bridgerton. I tried reading the Bridgerton novels and they were really not for me, but since then, to be fair, even pre-Bridgerton, I've always been fascinated by getting into body strippers novels, because in theory that sounds like my jam, because I've read so many fan fictions. I'm obsessed with historical novels and especially Regency era novels, and I just like the exploration of customs and society through the lens of sexuality, kink, and relationship. So, but you can see how I want to read a historical romance with this lens. And sometimes a historical novel is just do you want to get off? There you go. So it's been hard for me to find a historical novel that hits my type of needs. But this looks very promising. It has a diverse cast of characters, much like Bridgerton. There's LGBTQ representation, there's POC representation, and also it's not just a woman that's out in society and needs to find a husband. It's part of the Spinster Society saga, And the Spinster Society is basically like MI6 but for spinsters in the Victorian era. So they do very like espionage, Jane Bond-esque stuff, which sounds so cool. And the love interests, like the actual relationship is based on people who are so into each other they're just being dum-dums. And that's one of I don't care for enemies to lovers, friend to lovers, second chances, blah blah. To me, my preferred thing is you're both really into each other. You're just being dum-dums. Like that's my jam. That's my vibe. So I'm really excited to see if I found my actual like historical romance niche. I'll keep you posted. So yeah, this is it. These are the books that I'm gonna be reading, hopefully. I mean, I'm probably going to be reading some other books, maybe, but I know that definitely these ones I will give it a fair shot because there's external pressure. I have other books that I am currently reading and that I am planning on reading, but I'm not gonna be mentioning those because I have no idea when or how I will get to them. But yeah, I hope you like this. I usually don't do TBRs or unhauls or something like that because it's not the thing I prefer watching. But I know that a lot of people like them. So let me know if you want to see more of this type of content or if you like more the bookish but not related to what I'm currently reading or planning to read type of content. Give me some feedback please in the comments, and yeah, see you next time. Bye bye.